Hello and welcome to the Tax Return Commitment Club launch party, where we're going to discover how you can file 90% of your tax returns on or before the 30th of November. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Tax Return Commitment Club launch party. And about 5 minutes ago, when I was talking to Mike, I had a real problem saying that out loud. So, Tax Return Commitment Club launch party. I hope I don't have to say that too many more times. But anyway, today I am going to be sharing with you some ideas around moving your tax returns on and how you can have at least 90% of your tax returns out to clients for signature by the 30th of November. We're going to look at some barriers as to why that happens, some obstacles, what you can do to remove them. And we're going to give you two ideas. I'm going to give you two ideas as to things you should be doing now before the 31st of March. And there's a whole load of stuff that we're going to be looking at. So as always, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box. I love a stupid question. So if you've got any questions whatsoever, including the stupid ones, pop them in the Q&A box and I will gladly answer them as I go through. And if you've got any ideas or anything that you would like to share, please pop them in the chat box. So we have questions in the Q&A box. That makes it easier for me to look after them. And any conversation that you want to have, pop it in the chat box. We've got lots of people in the room. We've got Bounce members and not Bounce members and people that are looking at the Tax Return Commitment Club and all sorts of people. So if there any Bounce members in the community or in the room that would like to pop nice things in the chat box, that would be great as we go through. And as I said at the end of today's sessions, about 30 minutes or so of content, there's an invitation, or there will be an invitation to join the commitment club and as I say, get 90% of your tax returns completed out to client for signature before the 30th of November. So a bit more about that in a moment. So if I press that and press that, and hopefully when I press that, you should now be able to see a slide. And this is where we're going to go. So I know tax returns are not the most exciting things in the world that we have to do. And I cannot believe that it's only 2 weeks away, being the 6th of April, and having to start that momentous slog again to get those tax returns in. But the whole idea of the Tax Return Commitment Club is to turn you and your team from that into that. So we're going to have a bit of fun this year. We have spent it seems like an inordinate amount of time since January. So we start planning the Tax Return Club in January. So we spent a lot of time since January working out how we can improve on what we're doing this year and how we can have even more of an impact this year on getting tax returns done compared to what we did last year. Plus, you're going to get everything that you had in last year's Tax Return Commitment Club as well. So there's just a massive amount of value and accountability. That's their key. And we will also this year be running the Leave No One Behind campaign. So you'll see that tagline. So there'll be stuff within the community where we'll be encouraging and helping people get the tax returns done. And you'll see us on LinkedIn and all over the place. So I'm quite passionate about making sure that we don't have this December/January chaos that people seem to enjoy unless you actually want it. And I understand that some people like it, and I'm going to share some challenges in a moment. Some people like it, and if you're taking on clients in January, then fair enough, let's go and do it, as long as we charge a premium for it. So I have identified 6 barriers that prevent us as accountants getting tax returns in early, basically. So we have, and we're going to look at these in a little bit more detail in a moment, but we have client barriers. So that's things that clients, or challenges that we have with clients, and there are ways and means of removing those barriers. We have practice management barriers. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody, but lots of accountants that I meet have very poor practice management systems, and in those systems that means that they don't know where they are and they can't measure the numbers and all the rest of it. And we have psychological and behavior barriers. So we're all a little bit, including me, we're all a little bit nuts up top, and we do silly things. We self-sabotage, we have imposter syndrome and stuff like that. So we're going to delve into the psychological and behavior barriers. We then have team barriers if we have people that work for us, and the pressure that they have and the procrastination that they have. And we're going to have a look and a play with those. And we have technology barriers. So there were different things that we could do in order to speed up the processes and the automation of tax returns. So we're going to be playing with those as well. And then the last one are the external barriers. Number one in the external barriers is HMRC and all the issues that we have around that. So the purpose of today, we're not going to break down each one of those barriers or every one of those barriers, but I'm going to give you an idea as to what they are. We're going to start talking about them. And then, as I say, in the next 20 minutes, we're going to look at ways that the Tax Return Commitment Club can help you go through and break down those barriers over the next 7 months or whatever it is until the end of November. And the goal ultimately is for you to have Christmas off and a more relaxing January. So 90% of the tax returns out to client for signature. And over the last 6 years, I think this is the 6th year that we've now doing it. Is it this year 7? We've had lots of successes and people have made lots of progress. So this is Jim. This was back in December, I believe. He'd only got 5 tax returns left to prepare, and Joe had been doing it and it all been delegated, etc., etc. We then had Martine. Martine, just wanted to say a big thank you to Mark Misha for the constant pushing of the Tax Return Commitment Club. Without the accountability, we would have been in such a good position in January, and there's a massive amount of accountability that goes through this whole process with the members of the Commitment Club, and we're going to ramp it up again this year. And then Isaac said, I've got the team working on the tax returns, really running smoothly. It lets me concentrate on getting the jobs out. I'm 30 tax returns ahead of where I was at last point this year. So he's still got a long way to go until November, but it was massively improving. And that's all this is about. It's about getting better year on year. So beating yourself and being that little bit better. And then David, who you would have seen in the marketing, that we've been doing. So David got to his 90%, just over 90% at the end of November, and that was the best year that David had ever had. We're going to come back to these, and again, when we look at the meetings that we're going to have over the next 7 months or so, we'll be coming back to those stories and how they've done that, so you can learn from it and move with it. Let me just move this little thing out of the way. Yeah, and Leander says about making tax digital in April is going to be even bigger and bigger and bigger as we move on. So let's get into the crux of it. Who this is predominantly aimed at. So the Tax Return Commitment Club is predominantly aimed at practice owners based in the UK that do tax returns. Yeah, so you could be an accountant or a bookkeeper or interim FD or whatever it is. But if you do any sort of serious number of tax returns, definitely the Commitment Club is for you. We work with people up to 20 team members. We have done more, but what you tend to find once you get above 20 sort of team members, then it breaks off, or they have a specific tax department and it's less relevant to them. But everybody within the club wants to have more time in their lives, and they want to have less stress, especially around Christmas and January of next year. So there are 2 things I'm instantly going to encourage you to do, and they're exactly the same things this year as what they were last year, and I'm going to talk you through a little process as well, is to start the planning now for what it is that you're going to do. So you need dates in the diary to work out what it is that you're going to do in this next tax season in order to make sure you are not running around like a blooming idiot in December and January. Now, those dates, depending on where you are in your journey, those dates can be different. But in my mind, you definitely want a meeting in the diary now, or some time in the diary now, to establish what your numbers are. Okay. Now, it always amazes me. You talk to accountants and go, well, I've got lots of tax returns to do. There's about 400 or about 500 or whatever it is, about 150. But unless you know your numbers, your precise numbers, you wouldn't turn up at a client meeting and go, well, you've made about 50 grand profit. The more specific you can be around those numbers, then the more clarity, the more intention you will have about achieving those results. So you definitely want a date in the diary or some time in the diary in order to work out what your numbers are. And I'm going to encourage you to do that before the 1st of April next week. And then you want time in the diary. If you haven't already, you want time in the diary to sit around with a team and review what it is that you did well last year and what could be even better if you did it this year. And then in my world, you need a bit of a plan, if you haven't got one already, as to when you're going to start asking clients for information, which clients you're going to ask for information, and get your system sort of polished and up to date. And within the Tax Return Commitment Club, when you join, or if you go into the files, if you're already a member, you'll find the greenstone systems that we've used in order to be able to start to map that out. So as a consequence of today, if you do nothing other than to get some time in the diary to review what you did, work out what your numbers are, and then start looking at where you're going, then that is time well spent, and get absolute clarity on your numbers. Now, if you was part of the Tax Return Commitment Club last year, you would have had a tracker that looks a bit like this. And all we did is basically listed the numbers down the side and the target. So we said 90% in November. We divided that by 8, and it was about 11% a month that people needed to complete. So 11% of their total tax returns. And then we just asked them to write in the right-hand side. I don't know why I'm pointing over there. You can't see it, but you can over here. On the right-hand side, we asked people to fill in their result. And members of the club, they took a photograph. They had it on the wall or had it on the desk. They took a photograph and shared and encouraged each other on. Now, that worked. It served a purpose. But as I say, we sat down in January and we started thinking about how we could improve that aspect of the club. And this is what we've come up with. So this is the Tax Train Tracker, which again is a bit of a mouthful, but you'll see the arrival time. So you'll see the months down the left hand side, and you'll see the arrival times, which is the target. We've then asked you this time to input the actual number or the approximate number of tax returns that you need to do. So you'll see on here we was looking at percentages, whereas this time we want the number. So what the target number is, and then ultimately the departure time is the percentage that you actually, so the result that you get. And another slight difference, we had lots of members say to us last year that it's already 11% a month, but we have some time off in August and we have some time off in July. So we'd like to do less in August and July. Clients are away and all the rest of it. So could we do less in July and do more in other months of the year? So what we've done, you'll see April, we've stuck at the 11%, and then we've said that you'll have lots of early starters. Yeah, so you'll have lots of people that are keen to get their tax returns done. So you should be, if you're on the ball, you should be able to get lots of tax returns done in those first couple of months of the tax year. It will then slow down a little bit, and then so we've gone back to 15% on June. But then in July and August, people are away. So we're saying 10% in July, 5% in August while people are away. And then all of a sudden, when people come back in September, there's a bit of a rush again. So people need to get stuff out, back to school type scenario. So again, we've upped the number, and then we've done 10% for October and November. So it starts up and then it levels off and then it finishes off. And that's our suggestion for how you tackle it. And thank you. Carly's put a message in there about having the most productive January yet. And it was one of the questions in the first meeting. We're going to be asking you what it is that you want your January to look like. So lots of people, when you ask that question, they go less busy. Okay, but what do you mean by less busy? You need to go forward. You need to have what it is that you want to have rather than what it is that you don't have. So in the first meeting next week on the 1st of April, we're going to be diving into that in a little more detail. So that's what you need to be doing at the moment. Now, there are some rules of joining the Tax Return Commitment Club. And they are, if you are in, you are in. So I don't want any half-heartedness, anybody messing about, basically. If you're committed to it, if you're going to get 90% of your tax returns done or out to signature to clients by the 30th of November, it is something that I feel you've got to take serious. And it's very easy to put stuff off and think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And then you never get round to it. So if you're in the club, you're in the club. Mark, Michelle and the community are here for help. So we ask and expect people to reach out for help. When you're asking questions of the community, however stupid you think those questions are, when you're asking help, there'll be other people go, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't realize that. So by asking for help within the community, you are helping yourself and you are asking other people. We beg you to share best practice. I talk a lot about the stuff that we do and the way that we do it, but there are people out there that have got better systems than us. They've got better ways of asking. They've got better ways of getting new information in from the customers or from their clients. So by sharing best practice, you will help them do that. We have 6 meetings coming up, which I'll share with you in a minute, but it's best to be in the meetings. I know it's not always possible because it clashes with sports days and or whatever, but it's better to be in the meeting than watching. Excuse me, better than be in the meeting than watching with a glass of wine on a Friday night if you're sad enough to do that. But if you're in the meetings, you get a conversation and an awareness, and then ask questions when you need to. So if you've got a situation or a problem, then feel free to ask those questions. So Nick's asked a question. Would you recommend starting with the easy, quick to do returns first or targeting the more complicated, trickier clients first? I like a mix, Nick. So again, we're going to share this next week at the intentions meeting, but I like a mix. So sort of 4-to-1, sort of that sort of mix. So 4 easy ones and 1 hard one. What I don't want is I definitely don't want to be leaving all the hard ones until the end. Yeah. So Brian Tracy said, eat that frog. Feels a bit indigestible to me. So I wouldn't do lots of frogs at the start, lots of hard ones at the start, but sort of 3-to-2, 4-to-1, and start moving them on. And next week, again, in the intentions meeting, we'll be talking about identifying your red flag clients and actually doing something about them this year rather than putting it off, and then feel obligated to do them because you've got no alternative. So that's the rules of the club. So what's going to happen today? I'm already 15 minutes in and shared lots of content. What's going to happen today is at the end, you'll be invited to take the next step if you want. But I'm not selling anything today. You can either join us or not join us. It doesn't make a great deal of difference to me. I'd love you, obviously, to be in because we want you to do the tax returns. But we want you to get value out of the course of today. So you've got a better understanding of the mindset that you've got or may have around getting the tax returns and why you're leaving them until December and January. And again, I'll reaffirm that if you do nothing more today other than getting those numbers that I've already shared with you, then you'll have made a big progress because lots of people don't do that. 50% of the people we talk to are not the right fit. So mentally, they're not in the right place or they're looking for what we call confirmation. So we tend to work with accountants that are looking for information or transformation. So they're looking to make progress rather than have it confirmed that they're already good. So if you're in a mindset of thinking, I've already got this nailed, then you probably have. You're not really in a place to be coached or challenged, and therefore you're not right for us. You need to listen, so you don't look at your phone in the spa. So when we're in the meetings, and again in today, you need to be present. You need to be listening, because if you're not listening, it sort of passes you by, and you might not get something, or you might miss something. And then the last one, as Nick has already done, is ask questions to maximise your value today. So feel free, use me and abuse me. So let's start by let's continue by looking at the client barriers. So I sat down one dark night in the middle of February and had to play with the different things or the different barriers that are stopping you filing your tax returns by the end of January. As I said, I've shared those 6 barriers, one of which is client barriers. So these are the first 10. So pain 1, I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see what they are. Pain 1 is you waste time chasing them and dealing with last minute stress. I think we all succumb to that one. So within the Commitment Club, we need to come up with a way to help you reduce the time that you spend chasing and dealing with last minute stress. And we've got one of those that's coming up in the productivity conversation. So that's month 3. You're forced to firefight instead of following a structured workflow. We've got practice management stuff that we're going to be talking about. They ignore reminders and leave everything until the deadline, so let's stop them doing that. Their delay is your stress, as you can't do the return without their figures. Okay, so let's stop them procrastinating. There's stuff in the Commitment Club from 2024 that you can do in order to do that. More time wasted chasing bank statements. So you can see this. So there's 10 client barriers that we're going to be focusing on. And we've also then got the practice management barriers. And this is depending on where you are within the big scheme of things. Some of these won't apply to you, but we do have accountants within the community that are still monitoring their tax return progress on Excel spreadsheets. So they've got an Excel spreadsheet set up. And when I was sharing some stories of the day, I remembered back in the day where we used to go through filing cabinets of files, of correspondence files, looking to see whether that client needed a tax return or not. And I had a 16 column analysis pad where I had the method. That's how I was using to track. But anyway, I hope we're all off 16 column cash pads now. But I hope that, I hope that's not the 16 column analysis pad that you're guilty of. I hope it's a spreadsheet that you're guilty of, but I'll still tell you off or wag my finger at you if that's true. But anyway, so practice management barriers are things like sending random emails without following a proof. So it's scattergun stuff. It's like, oh, I must do that, or I think about that. We need to make sure it works. No deadline, so clients can assume they send records whenever they like. You need to stop telling people about the 31st of January. Take that out of your correspondence completely, yeah? If you tell somebody that the deadline's the 31st of January, that is what they're working to. We remove the 31st of January from our apart from the last letter, apart from the last email, that's just gone. Yeah. So we'll email people in October and say, if you've not given us the information by the 15th of November, or whatever the dates are, we don't guarantee to do your return. If the return's not filed by the 31st, blah, blah, blah. But before that, we don't have any mention of the 31st of January, because if people see that, they just think, oh, I've got ages. So pane 12, there's your solution to that one. Clients who delay don't face consequences, so they just repeat. So you never have a stiff conversation, a proactive conversation with them about sacking them even. And that's where we're going to talk about red flag clients next week. You're too nice, so clients take advantage and you suffer the consequences. We're all nice. I know we are. We just want the best for our customers, and we're prepared to sacrifice ourselves, our lives, our Christmas, our January in order for clients to like us more. There's a whole load of psychology around that we're going to talk about and look at when we look at mindset, which is the meeting in May. We've got manual trackings of leads and mistakes and missed clients. Clients have no motivation to submit early. Well, they do if you educate them to submit it early. You can either tell them about payments on account and planning for the tax payments and all that sort of pension payments and all that sort of stuff. So there's a whole load, as you see, there's another 10 practice management barriers there that we could sit down and you could nail in order to make sure the tax returns are done before the 30th of November. We've then got psychological and behavior barriers. So there's things like pain 22, you believe you work better under pressure. Well, if you have that belief, then you're automatically, naturally going to create the pressure in order to believe that you work better under pressure. And if that's one of your beliefs, and we can't shift that in the mindset section in May, then we might as well just give up now. And you might as well just carry on doing your tax returns and things. But it's a stupid way to work. We might leave some things to the end, but if you do the bulk of it, so it's done, and all it is a tick box exercise, is finishing off, then fair enough. Not believing that you can train clients to behave differently. Yes, you can. You can very much train your clients to behave differently. It's just a mechanism and a way of doing it and a conversation to be had. You procrastinate and put stuff off. Well, again, we'll look at the procrastination formula, and you've got that already in the 2024 thing. Thinking next year will be different, but doing nothing different. So if you're in this meeting today and have been saying since 1997 or whenever it was that they introduced, 1999 I think it was, they introduced self-assessment tax returns, and you're still saying that it's going to be different, but you don't do anything, i.e. join the tax return commitment club and make sure that you do this year, then it's just going to hang on. And you got holding on to difficult clients who never submit on time, which puts your practice under pressure. Why do that? Yeah, they've got to be paying you proper money. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that we don't do tax returns. Greenstones don't do tax returns in January. That's where the 10% comes from. Yeah. But the ones that happen in January, they happen in January for a reason. They tend to be fiscally significant to the practice. They've been a long-standing client. They are the complicated ones, and we need to make sure that they're right. That's just the way that they work. So we still do stuff in December and January. We just don't dedicate a whole of those 2 months to doing it. Sorry, a bit of a cough and getting a bit excited. Next, we've got, so that was the next, that's 30. The next we've got is team barriers. So if you've got people working for you, there'll be stuff that happens. So you've got not got enough team to handle the tax return season workload. Well, again, if it's concertinaed, is brought forward, and done systematically, then you very often do, because you're not wasting time in July and August and stuff like that. No delegation, so the owner does anything. So we can look at the delegation ladder and the skills matrix. Again, we're going to touch on that. I'm going to stop doing this. We're going to touch on that next week. Workload distribution is uneven, leading to efficiencies. Then pain 40. Staff aren't engaged and work more slowly because they're not motivated. They haven't got targets. They don't know what it is that they're supposed to be doing. They haven't got clarity over where it is that they are going. And then we've got technological and process barriers. So some people, they're still waiting for paper records instead of having Xero set up, still using paper-based systems instead of automation, not using email reminders or SM notifications. A really easy thing to do is set up something called followupthen.com. It's free. If you do the professional thing, it costs you 30 quid, 40 quid or something like that, and it will send automatic reminders, and you can do that daily, and it will look as though it's coming from you, and eventually they'll ring up and say, what keep sending me these reminders for? It's because we need your information. So give us the information, or stop sending you the reminders. And then the last one is the external barriers. So things like HMRC processing information, clients being affected by personal illness, the weather. Once upon a time, it always seemed to snow those last 3 or 4 days in January. And I remember one time, I'm going back a long time now, probably 20 years ago, when it snowed on the 29th of January, and I was afraid to go home in case I couldn't get back on the 30th and the 31st. This is back in the days when everything was in the office and we had a computer and very little internet, in case we couldn't get back in the office in order to do those tax returns. So as you see, there's 52 pains categorized in those 6 categories. I'm not saying you've got to get rid of all 52, and lots of you on the call will have nailed some of those pains. But if you've not nailed all of them, then you're not making it as easy as you could do in order to get those 90% of tax returns filed by take a breath, by the 30th of November. And when you do, you will end up like Jim and Martine and Isaac and David. So let's just have a look at the biggest mistakes that accountants make, and with regards to doing the tax returns. And we've already touched on this first one a little bit. It's the comfort of chaos. It's like it's being part of the community. So if I'm running around at the end of January, December, it gives me something to talk about when I go to the pub. It gives me something to moan about to friends and family and things like that. It gives me social media posts to put on LinkedIn. I can moan to customers about it. So if I'm chaotic, there is very often a comfort in that chaos. Now, that's a mindset issue. Yeah. So we're going to be looking at that in May in order to help you get out of that comfort, get out of your comfort zone. And if you want, we can give you something else to moan about, but to become proactive in the way that you're working. And the comfort of chaos, I know there's this mindset that we have where, and we talk about this within the Mastermind community quite a bit, you'll have something that you're proud of. So you'll say, we've had a fantastic month, but, and then you'll share the negative aspect of, we've had a fantastic month, but we've lost a client or whatever it is. So you need to get out of the comfort of chaos. And then we have certain accountants that are afraid of losing clients. Predominantly, those people are in a place where they're not getting consistent leads coming into the practice, and they have a scarcity mindset. So all fear comes from being afraid of losing something. So normally speaking, it's money or health. So if you can work on your scarcity mindset, so you believe in abundance, and that if you do lose a client because you sacked them because they're rubbish at doing tax returns, then there'll be another client coming along in a moment, then you'll have an infinitely better, you'll have a more productive conversation with your clients, you'll get the information in sooner, and you'll have a more relaxing January and a Christmas off. You might want to be the hero. So I know I can get sucked into this. You want to be the savior, yeah? So you have people turn up in January that haven't got the tax returns yet, or the accountant's done this, or they've not done that, or whatever it is, and you want to ride in on your shining horse, knight in shining armour, don't have a shining horse, don't have a knight in shining armour, and rescue the situation. It feels good, doesn't it? I feel good when I do that sort of stuff, but you need to get out of that if you want to be doing your tax returns earlier. You might be loving the adrenaline, and I know, again, I'm a sucker for this. So it's like, you got to work, you got to turn up. We're talking about COVID 5 years ago now. There was a lot of adrenaline and a lot of flight and fight emotion that came through COVID, and lots of people love the adrenaline, love the pressure, love the passion around getting those tax returns done. And then you have fear of getting clients leaving. This is slightly different of being afraid of clients. And I've kind of got those two the wrong way around, really. But the fear of clients leaving is the scarcity, the mindset one. The being afraid of clients is their aggressive attitude. It's them dictating, it's them being authoritarian and telling you what it is that you're going to do rather than you're running the business. Now, they're both afraid, and that still comes from a scarcity mindset, and you need to work on an abundance mindset, but they are slightly different nuances. And again, we're going to touch on both of those as part of the mindset meeting in May. You still believe it's a one-off, even though you've been doing it for donkey's years. It's a stupid belief. The only way that anything can get better is if you do something different. Yeah, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got, or less. So you need to do something with it. And then another one that we know, because we want to be accurate, don't we, is being afraid to get things wrong. So if we're not completely confident about a situation or a tax return or the information that we're about to put on it, there's lots of support out there within the Accountants Mastermind community. But instead of asking or instead of doing something about it, we put it off. It's a bit difficult. We'll put it off until tomorrow. Will ring up and moan at us, or it will get to the 30th of January and we've got to do something about it, and then we make a decision. So if we can remove that fear around getting it wrong, give you the support, give you the technical knowledge, or certainly help with the technical knowledge, then again it removes that mistake. So what's the club all about this year? Well, basically you will be somewhere. You will have a position, you'll have got most of them done in the year, or you won't have got any done and you'll have had a crazy January or whatever. So it's what you currently have. Now, we are setting you a goal of what you want. Yeah. And in my world, it's 90% of tax returns sent out to client for signature by the 30th of November. If you want something different to that, then fair enough. You set your target. As long as you've got a goal, you've got clarity over your intention. I don't mind that. But as a part of the club, we're going to keep reinforcing that 90% done before the end of Christmas. So wherever you're going to be, we're going to establish that next week. Wherever you want to go, we're going to establish that on the Tax Return Commitment Club tax tracker, train tracker thing. And then obviously there are things that are stopping you getting there. Yeah. And the whole idea of the club is we're going to help you jump over it. Yeah. We're going to help you get over those things that are stopping you doing it. Can we help you get over all of them? I pray to whoever it is that we pray to that we can. Will we do? No, but just progress, just some sort of progress. So you're doing less tax returns after the end of November will be an infinite success for me. Now, the way that we're going to do that is we're going to look at impact. Impact is the mnemonic, and I'm now going to talk you through how that works. So the first thing is we're going to make sure that you have the intention. We've started on that today. We started looking at the number of tax returns, the precise number of tax returns that you've got to refile, and then how they're going to be filed over the course of the year. So next week on the 1st of April, there's a meeting where Mark is going to go through setting intentions, looking at what stops you from setting intentions, working out where you're going to go, and then we're going to give you lots of ideas as to how you can measure the results of those intentions and work out what it is and celebrate success, etc., etc. The next meeting is around mindset. Okay, so all those limiting beliefs that we've got, the conversations that we don't have with clients because we're afraid of them, we're going to look at the psychology behind that and the way that it works, and we're going to break down all those barriers. Once we've worked out where you're going and we've got you in the right mindset to go there, we're going to look at your productivity. So practice management, the systems that you're using, the way that you're working, stop doing lists, the way that you can delegate stuff to team members, monitor what the team members are doing. We're then going to look at your team dynamics if you've got a team, and the way that the team are working, the way that you're working with the team in the productivity thing. We're going to look at ways at efficiently chasing information. By the end of this, we then get to customers. So once we get to, this is about September time, I'll give you the dates in a minute, but once we get to September, you've got to have clarity over the ones that you're going to continue working with or not working with, because the grades of the customers and the way that you're thinking and the way that you get rid of customers if you don't want to work with them anymore. And then finally, we're going to look at turnover. So, excuse me. So the way that you're generating your leads, and more importantly, the extra work orders that you're working with and the way that you're going to charge people. Now, That's not to say that we're going to categorically look at those in those set orders or in those set months. So if you have a problem with productivity and you post in the club or post in the community, we'll gladly answer them and move them around and mix them up. But the theme, if you like, of the month when we do the meetings is going to be intention, mindset, productivity, altogether or team, customers, and turnover. And in addition to those 6 meetings and the tracker and all the accountability and all the rest of it, you're going to get how to automate your tax return process, which is a presentation that I gave last year. So that's 2024 system is still in the resources. You're going to see the webinar, how to get your information from your client. That's one of the biggest bugbears that accountants have, is getting the information in where you don't need to do that. You need systems in place. There's predetermined responses, the whole load of stuff that you could be doing in order to make sure that stuff is happening. You'll get a copy of last year's launch party where we go into how to stop procrastinating and the procrastination formula, and you can work out where you are particularly weak or where your team is weak and your customers are weak. And then you'll get all of the Greenstone's tax return systems, and all the other members that are prepared to share their systems will go into the vault as well. So you'll get access to all of that. So, as I said, excuse me, the intention meeting is in April. That's next Tuesday. So you can come along to that. The way the meetings work is we deliver some information and then you'll go away and talk about it. There'll be actual time to do work in the meeting. So you'll actually make progress or make a start within the meeting, and then you'll have a breakout session and talk to your fellow accountants, your peers, and work out. So we've got the intention meeting in April, the mindset meeting in May, the productivity meeting in June, the altogether or team meeting in July, the customer meeting in September. So we don't have a meeting in August because you're away and your customers are away. And then we'll look at the turnover meeting in October. And this will all center around the WhatsApp groups and the communities, and ultimately your tax train tracker, which we implore you to do. If you're a member of Bounce, you should have already had one of those. If you're a member of Evolution, you should have already had one of those, a physical copy. If you haven't got a physical copy, then let us know and I'll get Michelle to send one out. When you join the Tax Return Commitment Club or Bounce, which I'm now going to talk about today, then you get a physical copy sent into the post with you. So how does the Tax Return Commitment Club work? Well, basically, the Tax Return Commitment Club is part of Bounce, which is our membership community for accountants. And I just want to talk you through that. And if you join today, basically there's a bit of a discount in order to get you over the line, in order to get you into the Tax Return Commitment Club, because I know it's where we can add massive value to help you. So as much as the Tax Return Commitment Club is about not doing stuff in January and December, it's also about delivering a better service to your customer, better information to your customer, having a little bit of self-respect. And in that, you become a better practice, you become better for team members, you deliver a better service, and the whole thing escalates off the back of that. So in a minute, instead of it's 2, 4, 5 a month normally. In a minute, Mark will share a link where you can join Bounce today for 97 quid for the first month, 100% money back guarantee, no notice periods, all the other stuff that goes along with it. But as I said, the value and quality of any event or training or webinar or course can only be determined by the action that you take after it. Yeah. So today, you've got a choice. You can go away. Basically, you've got 2 choices. You can consciously decide to do nothing and think, well, I'm not going to do it. We'll just carry on doing exactly the same as what we did last year. Or you can consciously decide to do something. Yeah. Now, if you come along to the webinar today and say the Commitment Club is not for me or Bounce is not for me, that's fair enough. I don't mind that. Just go away and work out what your numbers are, what you need to have filed by the 30th of November or the 31st of October or whatever it is. Nicola posted in the group yesterday or the day before that she wanted all of hers done by the 31st of July. If that's what your target is, you need to work out what those numbers are and then divide it by your 3 months or divide it by your months, divide it by your weeks, and then systematically decide to go and do it. So please, if you do nothing else, if you consciously do something, just do that. But obviously I think joining Bounce is the best way. So Bounce is all about a community to inspire, challenge, and support each other to be the very best that you want to be. So it's your standard, it's where you want to be in life, it's what you want your practice to be. It's not about us dictating what that practice should look like. So it's about you being the very best. It's about you being better tomorrow than you are today, and it's about being better today than you were yesterday. So how do we do this? Well, there's lots of components about about bounce, and I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail about all of them. But ultimately, it's about community. It's about peers helping each other, supplying information, supporting each other, giving each other shortcuts. We had a conversation yesterday. We had a meeting last week at Evolution, and lots of members came up with the same action. Well, instead of us all doing the individual actions, all 10 people doing the same action, that we're going to bring them together. So one person does the action and we share the outcome of that action, and away we go. So it stops you having to reinvent the wheel. And predominantly we do that through the Bounce WhatsApp group, but we also have Connect events, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. So the first thing, it's fundamentally, it's about the community. We then about systems. So if we've got a system, if Greenstones has got a system, then you can have the system. Yeah, you can have the tax return the tax return system letters. You can have them a checklist. You can have them a risk assessment. You can have the emails that go out that confirm the tax, etc., etc. It's all there. You just take it, change it so it's in your language. Use ChatGPT to amend it or whatever it is that you want to do, and then away you go. And as I've already said, you get access to other members' systems as well. So I love the community. I know there's been a lot of stuff on LinkedIn over the last 3 or 4 weeks about accountants not getting on with each other. Well, we just don't see that. I don't see it. I think it's a fantastic profession to be in, and most people will share most of the stuff that they've got within the community in order to help everybody get better. Every month we have a surgery. This is your opportunity to come on and you ask me questions. So people put the questions in and then I'll answer them, and I'll flip the questions around to give you ideas as to how you might do it. And other members of the community come in as well and share. So you'll get that every month. This is a big one for me. So Coach Accountable, it's a piece of software that we use. It looks a bit like this, where you put your actions into the software. So you can put your numbers in if you like, your tax return commitment club numbers or any actions that you're going to take. And then we badger you, nag you, hold you accountable to get those actions done. And at the beginning of this year, we've already got, across the two groups, we've already got 324 actions that has been completed. Because as I said, if you come along to the meetings, you come along to the trainings, and you don't make a note of the actions that you're going to take and then do the actions, it was an absolute waste of time having those meetings. And we do, as I say, we've got different systems to make sure that people are completing actions and what they're doing and all the rest of it. And we've done 324 so far this year when I looked last week. You can come to 4 Connect events. It's a physical meeting where people come along, they change ideas and share ideas. We've just finished GRF Mastery. That was a couple of weeks ago. And in May, the event is going to be all about Account AI. So the actual cost of those events we bear, and you just come along. If you stay overnight, you have to pay for your hotel, but you come along to the day for free. Those events run at 295 quid. And this is what Jem said after one of those events. A whirlwind of information. I learned so much in such a quick time. Simon is a force of nature when he's on a roll. Very much so. I love being on a roll like that. My business feels like it has turned another corner today. That was Jem after he shared at that event. So they're all the different things that make up Bounce. And there's a whole load more of stuff that we include. Now, if you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, you're looking to invest about 12 to 18K a year, depending on how many times you want to meet. But Bounce, obviously, because it's a group community, is just £245 plus VAT per month. So that's the ongoing investment. As I said, the first month as part of the Tax Return Commitment Club launch is only 97 quid, and you get access to everything that I've already talked about. But the ongoing investment is 245 plus the VAT per month. It comes with 100% get money back guarantee. So if you ever get to the end of the month and don't feel as though you've had value or the support that you wanted or whatever, then you just let me know and I'll refund the money. I hate tying people into minimum contracts, so there is no minimum contract. So you could join this month if you really wanted to, pay your 97 quid, pilfer all the information, all the recordings of the surgeries, all of the recordings of the power hours, and last year's tax return commitment clubs, pinch all the greenstone systems, if you like, and then say that you don't want to carry on. I mean, it's your ethics, your morals, but you could technically do that, and then say that you don't want to carry on, and because there's no minimum contract, and then there's no notice period. So just let us know that you don't want to renew. Michelle cancels the subscription, and she'll take you out of all the groups and all the accesses on your next renewal date. And that's not all. As a part of joining the commitment club, we have lots of objections, as you say, or joining bounce. So you get access to the 5Ps for perfect prices. This is an online course. It retails 195 quid or whatever that Mark has delivered. And we've got lots of successes of people that have made. So Michael did 85 grand. I can't remember who that was, and my screen's over the top of it. I'm not there to tell you. 7.5 grand. And then Jeff, he did 250 quid a month of extra income. So that's their goal, basically. So when you join the community, if you do, or when you do the 5Ps to perfect prices, a goal is to make bounce free for you. Yeah. So the quicker you can increase your prices and go through the pricing system, as soon as bounce becomes free, then everything is like a bonus on top. And there's a whole process that we'll go through in order for you to do that. The GRF Mastery event, was a Connect event that we delivered 2 weeks ago, where we looked at pricing. We did some pricing benchmarking, or shared some pricing benchmarking. We looked at pricing processes. We looked at how to move from annual billing in arrears, to how to bill in year on a monthly basis. So that was a big chunk of the morning. And we then looked at lead gen, lead conversion, average order value, so how you increase how much people spend with you, and then order frequency, so how often they buy from you. So it's 3 weeks ago, was it, Mark? It seems like a lifetime ago, but I thought it was 2. But that's what we did. So it's basically ways of increasing GRF, because as you know, we run a capacity model. Generally speaking, we run a capacity model. So for every pound we put on the top line, that filters all the way through to the bottom line. So that's what that was, David. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was in full flow most of that day as well. Anyway, so now you might be thinking you don't have enough time. So that 2 fundamental objections is I haven't got enough money and I don't have enough time. So we've solved that one for you as well. So the second course that you get as part of being in Bounce is Your Clock Unlocked, and they are practical productivity tips that I have used within my accountancy practice, in my life, in order to save you time. So there's loads of easy things in there. So followupthen.com, which, for example, is in there. One that I've just used in order to use reminders, set up reminders so you don't forget anything when you delegate it. So that runs, I think it's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours or something like that. And away you go. They don't have enough money, as I said, we can solve through the 5Ps. Am I too small or am I too big? Basically, the answer to that is no. All you need to have is an open mind, yeah? You need to be looking for information or transformation. If you're looking for confirmation as how good you are, then it doesn't matter what size you are, but it's not for you. Do you need to do something first? Well, the simple answer to that is no. There is always something to do. It's like when you're sacking somebody, you can't sack them because it's Christmas, then it's Easter, then it's the summer holidays, then it's the birthday, then it's the team away day or whatever it is. There's always a reason not to do something. And ultimately, if you follow that reason, when you get through the rest of the year, you'll be sitting there in November going, oh my goodness, I've got loads of tax returns to do, because there is always something to do first, something to take control. So that's all I've really got to talk about. Mark's going to pop the URL in the chat group. So all you need to do is click that, stick your details in, stick your credit card in. You'll get a whole load of stuff, a whole lot of induction stuff, and basically access to all the stuff. And if you don't like it, then you just leave and ask for your money back. As simple as that. So as I said, it's normally 245 quid, but today, if you join, it is £97. And it comes with, as I say, 100% money back guarantee, no minimum contract, and no notice period. So that is it. That's the launch party done. As you can see, I hope you can see how excited I am about what we're about to deliver over the next 7 months. The accountability, the way that we're going to look at your intentions, your mindset, and get over those limiting beliefs. We're going to help you look at the productivity and the ways that you can work more efficiently, how you can help your customers, how you can make more money out of your customers, and how you can get your team on board, how you can get them engaged. And in addition to all that, we're going to be looking at the accountability. We're going to have the tax train tracker, if I don't come up with a better name before that. And all the rest of it. But if you do one thing as a result of being here today, the number one thing that you must do, as far as I'm concerned, is to get those numbers nailed now. So you've got, so I know they'll change because you'll lose clients and you'll take clients on, but you'll have something now in order to start to work towards. And you need to get those dates and times in the diary in order to work out where you went wrong last year. If you've not already done that, work out where you're going to go with those numbers, and then plan what it is that you're going to do and how you are going to do it. So that just leaves me to say, if there's any questions, if there's any questions, pop them in the chat box. Will says, after years of stalking Simon, I've eventually joined Bounce and have not been disappointed. Yeah, I can still see you outside the window though, Will, when I look outside the window. But thank you very much for that. I haven't got any questions over there or over there. So as always, click the link. Let's have a bit of fun. And make sure that we get 90% of your tax returns out to client for signature by the 30th of November in order for you to have Christmas off and a more relaxing January. That's all for now, and I'll see you on the 1st of April for the first meeting. Bye-bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching this video all about how you can have Christmas off and a more relaxing January. If you like the video, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to the channel so you get notified the next time that we upload content relevant to you. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them below and I will gladly answer them. You'll also find a link in the description for you to be able to join the Tax Return Commitment Club. On the screen now, you will see the next two videos that we recommend you watch to inspire, challenge, and support you to have the practice that you want.